Well, I can't tell you how many dozens, maybe even hundreds of voice actors I've talked to over the years who have told me some version of this very thing. Well, Paul, I've reached out to 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 people, and I didn't get one single job. And because I know the reason, my next question to them is, okay, tell me about your follow up. And they look at me and they go, my what? What do you mean? Look, you can have solid training, a great demo, connected reads, maybe even you've got a few happy clients, and yet still struggle to build a consistent voiceover business for one stupid, simple reason. You don't follow up. Or you don't follow up enough, or you intend to follow up, and then a couple of weeks goes by and it starts to feel awkward, so you figure, you know what, it's probably too late. It's one of the biggest holes I see in voice actor marketing. People spend insane amounts of time and effort worrying about the first contact. Then they hit send and somehow convince themselves that their work here is done. Nope. Why? Because the person on the other end of the email has a job, a job. They've got meetings, deadlines, client fires, Slack messages, 16 browser tabs open, and your email is not the center of their universe. And that's actually good news, because when someone doesn't respond to your email, it doesn't mean that they hated your email, that they hated your reads, and that they've made the decision, well, hell, I am never going to work with this dork ever. Sometimes they just missed it. Sometimes they saw it, meant to get back to you, and it just didn't happen. Sometimes the timing sucked. Sometimes there's not a project for you when you reach out, but there might be in 3 or 6 or 9 or 48 months. And yeah, sometimes they're just not interested. The problem is that the silence doesn't tell you which one. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly for you why follow-up is so absolutely important, why maniacal consistency in your follow-up is equally as important, and why you don't have a prayer of being consistent without a good system. Now, before we get up to cruising speed and the captain turns off the seatbelt sign, I want to introduce you to our free resource of the week, our free source of the week. And this week, it's the 7-Day Outreach Challenge. It's your step-by-step printable action plan designed to kickstart your outreach momentum and fill your client pipeline, including follow-up. It is free, it is available now, and the link is in the description and show notes below. Voice actors are especially good at turning silence into rejection, aren't we? After all, we're trained to take subtle cues, to notice nuance and how something might land, and those are great qualities to have as a performer. Not so much as a business owner. So you send one email, you hear nothing back, and then your lizard brain starts making up stories. Oh, I don't want to bother them. They probably weren't interested. I'll look desperate if I email again. Or my personal favorite, they'll call me if they need me. Now, maybe they will, but you're sure placing a hell of a lot of faith in one email to one prospect 3 or 6 months ago. That's not a marketing strategy. That's delusional. Years ago, I reached out to a local production company. Didn't hear anything back. Reached out a week later. Still no response. Reached out a few weeks after that and finally got a response. Turns out my email just got lost in the chaos. They were working on a big project and they were buried. It wasn't anything personal, but when they reached out, they wanted to know if I could record a commercial for them that following Thursday. Why, yes, I can, thank you very much. And I booked the job, in this case, without even auditioning. Now, I can promise you I did not become magically more talented between the first email and the third email. I just hung in there long enough so that when a project popped up, they thought of me. And that's what follow-up does. And this is where I think a lot of voice actors get sideways on this whole thing. They think somehow in the back of their head they have to grow a thicker skin, or they have to have magically more courage, or somehow they should have been born some sort of natural salesperson. And yeah, maybe some of that stuff would help, but the big problem is far more fixable. They don't have a system. If your follow-up strategy lives entirely in your happy little head, you don't have a follow-up system. Starring a email message in your Gmail is not a system either. And while a sticky note on your monitor that says "Follow up with Steve," I guess is technically organizational technology, Come on, man, you can do a hell of a lot better than that. You need one place where you can see who you contacted, when you contacted them, what happened, and when you'll follow up again. Now, that can be a CRM, that can be a spreadsheet, that can be a task manager. Hell, it can even be a notebook if you're disciplined enough to use it. The tool matters a hell of a lot less than the habit, especially when you're getting started. The simplest rule in the world is this: every outreach conversation should have a next step. You email a prospect on Monday. When will you follow up? Put that in your tool. A producer gets back to you and says, hey, nothing for you right now, but keep in touch. Great. When are you going to keep in touch? Put that into your tool. They don't have to know when you're going to follow up, but you do, because sometime later always turns into never got around to it. And here's another place where voice actors tend to slam their plums in a mailbox. They think that follow-up has to be about an active job. Nope. Some of the most valuable follow-up you will ever do is not about chasing a specific gig. It's about staying in touch with the people that you want to work with. So again, a producer tells you, hey, love your stuff, don't have anything right now. Great. That's not the end of the relationship. A creative director says, hey, love your stuff, we'll keep your demo on file. Fantastic. That does not give you the right to dip for 2 years and hope that they'll remember your demo when the time comes. A client hires you once, works with you, and loves your work. Fan-freaking-tastic. Why would you wait for them to remember you if and when another job comes up 6 or 8 or 12 or 34 months down the road? So yeah, there are really 2 different kinds of follow-up that any successful voice actor is going to engage in. One is project follow-up. There's an active project. It might be an audition. It might be a quote, but your job is to actively move that piece of business down the field. The other is relationship follow-up. You're simply trying to stay top of mind with people that can hire you, that can refer you, and that can hire you again. And that second kind of follow-up is enormously important because most voiceover buyers, most, not all, do not continuously buy voiceover on an ongoing basis. That sounds obvious, but we forget that constantly. You might, let's say, contact a production company in March, and they don't have a damn thing for you. But in June, they land a huge healthcare company as a client, and suddenly they need 6 narrators. So if your entire email strategy is, well, I reached out to them once and they didn't respond, then you're relying on them to remember you 3 months down the road. Good luck with that. And this is why effective marketing is way less about getting somebody to say yes today than it is about staying top of mind until an opportunity arises. And that also changes the tone, the emotional tone of your follow-up. You're not trying to bend somebody over a barrel and get them to say yes today. You're not trying to close anyone. Hell, there's not even a project afoot for you to close. You're just trying to stay top of mind, making it easy for them to remember who you are and giving the relationship time and space and oxygen to be able to move forward. A perfectly good project follow-up can be something as simple as, hey, Tamika, I'd love to work with you on this project. Let me know if you're moving forward. A relationship follow-up can be as simple as, hey, Susan, I came across this article in XYZ publication, and it made me think of you because of bullet points A, B, and C relevant to their needs. I hope this is helpful. That's it. You don't need to apologize for contacting them. You don't need a 5-paragraph justification of why you're reaching out. And you definitely don't need to open with, sorry to bother you again. You're conducting business. You're allowed to politely and respectfully and relevantly stay in touch. Now, if the prospect asks you not to, honor that request. And there's another cost to bad follow-up that I don't even talk about enough. The fact that bad follow-up forces you every time back to square one. Think about how much time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears you put into finding a good prospect. You identify the decision maker. You research the company. You slave over the email. You find really good, reliable contact information. You reach out. Maybe even they respond. At that point, you've done the hard work. You've turned a complete stranger into a warm contact. And then a stupefyingly large percentage of voice actors abandon that completely and go looking for another stranger. That makes no sense. If you never follow up, then your marketing machine constantly has to import brand new strangers to make up for the warm contacts that you allowed to go cold. You're endlessly researching and prospecting and reaching out and emailing people while you're already sitting on a pile of warm relationships that you've already paid for with your time and effort. Warm prospects are valuable because you're not starting from zero. They've seen your name, they like your demo, you've exchanged emails, hell, you may have even already worked with them. Every additional touch point builds familiarity and trust, and familiarity and trust matter. Why? Because clients don't always hire the objectively best voice in the marketplace. Thank God, or else I'd probably never get any work. They hire somebody who's pretty good, available for the job, easy to work with, reliable, and in their orbit. Your job is to stay in their orbit. That doesn't mean pestering somebody every Tuesday until they block your domain. It doesn't mean chasing someone until one of you dies. For active opportunities, give yourself an endpoint. Follow up once or twice, and if you don't get a response, then let that opportunity rest. But stopping pursuit of a gig does not mean letting the relationship die. That person can now move back into your longer-term, slower marketing cadence. Now you check in maybe a quarter. Maybe you provide a valuable resource they can use. Maybe you send them a blog post on their industry that you wrote. Maybe you have a new capability that can help them. Your job now is to reach out with relevance and value. And that distinction takes a lot of the angst and the ooginess out of follow-up, because now you're not sitting in front of your computer going, well, what in the hell am I going to write to this person about today? You're simply executing the next step in your system, always, always from a place of service. And this is why consistency beats intensity in voice actor marketing and in pretty much anything in life. A huge burst of outreach every 4 months makes you feel really productive 3 times a year. But it doesn't build momentum. Relationships are built over time. Trust and familiarity are built over time. And the voice actors who stay in regular touch have a huge advantage over the ones that reach out once and then disappear into the ether. So build a follow-up system you'll actually use. And yeah, this can absolutely turn into money and booked work. Think about how many potential clients have come across your desk in the last year. That's people you may have worked with, people you auditioned for, referrals, producers who got back to you and said, we like your stuff, but nothing materialized, clients who hired you once and then vaporized, leads who sounded interested, but nothing ever came of it. How many of those people have heard from you since? Now, if the answer makes you uncomfortable, that actually is a good thing, because it means there's money and booked work in that gap. You don't necessarily need more prospects. You need to do a better job with prospects you already have. So start small, start simple. Pull together all of those old dormant leads that you have that are now in your CRM or your notebook or whatever tool you're using. Understand when the last time you talked with them was. Figure out which ones deserve a new reach out, and spoiler alert, that'll be most of them. And most importantly, dedicate a small block of time each and every week to do that work. 30 minutes twice a week can absolutely transform the way your pipeline looks. Not because follow-up is sexy or exciting. Quite frankly, it's boring and can be drudgery sometimes. But because of that, almost nobody does it consistently. And that, my friend, is the opportunity. Successful voiceover careers are not built on one giant break. They're built on small, incredibly boring, consistent business habits that you maintain long enough for them to be able to compound, to be able to build momentum, and finally to be able to produce real results. And follow-up is one of the biggest ones of those small, boring, everyday habits. So if you're wondering why your marketing keeps starting and stopping, why your pipeline feels unpredictable, or why people generally seem interested but then they vanish, don't immediately assume that you need a new demo or another class or even a brand new marketing strategy. Take a hard look at what happens after you hit send the first time, because your next client may be somebody you haven't met yet. They might be somebody you've already contacted, somebody you auditioned for 6 or 8 months ago, or somebody who hired you one time and simply hasn't thought about you again lately. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do for your voiceover business is not going out and finding another stranger. Sometimes it's staying top of mind with people who already know your name. Now, if you need practical accountability and an entire community full of like-minded voice actors, all sharing the same goal, which is to build a marketing system that they'll actually use, a follow-up system that they'll actually use and run and grow their businesses consistently over time, then I encourage you to check out vopro.pro/vopro. That's vopro.pro/vopro. If this video helped you, if you think it'll help another voice actor, please like, subscribe, share if you're listening to us on the audio podcast. Leave us a review if you would be so kind. That especially helps us if it happens to be on Apple Podcasts. It helps the podcast find more people to help. Thanks so much for your support. The more we exchange ideas and information on this channel and in the wider voiceover community, the better, stronger industry we'll have for everybody. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.